Hello chums, and welcome to Setups for Simpletons. I've created an entire series dedicated to explaining Gran Turismo 7's quirky and sometimes unforgiving tuning system, but sometimes it's nice to just copy someone else's homework and be done with it. So in this series I will take one car at a time, show a complete setup, and a lap of the Nürburgring for good measure. Disclaimer, if you use my setup it does not mean you're a simpleton. Let's begin! This time around, I've got the Ferrari 512 Berlinetta Boxer, a car I've never really spent much time with. Much like the Testarossa that came after, it was generally overshadowed by the rather more dramatic Lamborghini Countach, but nonetheless, this car has a reputation on Gran Turismo for being, let's say, unruly. For the visuals, I've got the wide body fitted, and the aftermarket wheels are larger than the standard size. This may make an already twitchy car even more unstable, so I would probably recommend keeping the smallest wheel size. The 512 has a front splitter for front downforce and a custom rear wing, since the Type A or B rear wings don't provide enough rear downforce to keep this thing stable. The livery is over a year old, and I created it back when I was referring to everything as Super Touring instead of Super Turismo. The 512 is not an easy car to set up. As with many mid-engined cars, it's prone to lift-off oversteer, but unlike most of them, the Ferrari is also prone to power oversteer, and a lot of the things that you can do to improve one may negatively affect the other. I resorted to adding some ballast weight to the front axle to help with the lift-off oversteer, and I then adjusted the rest to slightly prioritise reducing power oversteer. Trying to push a good lap time out of this car is counterintuitive. The 512 is a car that rewards smooth, steady driving. If you try to wrestle it through the corners to extract everything you can out of it, it feels like a matter of time until it tries to murder you. You can make this car slightly more mild-mannered by adding yet more weight to the front axle, but I'm trying to find the happy medium between ultimate lap time and consistency, and this setup was the best compromise I could figure out. Being a flat 12, it sounds very nice, though it does more or less sound just like a typical V12. This is one of those cars that will probably be much more comfortable with a 700 performance point tune, since that would give you the freedom to add more weight, reduce the front downforce, and use less power. This car is effectively on a constant razor edge most of the time, which in its own way is fun, and the potential performance is very high for its power level. If you compare this to the Countach 25th anniversary, it's night and day. I think this is potentially faster, but the Countach is a docile kitten compared to this Ferrari, which is more like a Jaguar on crack. In the end, I managed a 6 minutes 27, which puts this 1970s Ferrari almost level with a 1200 horsepower van. So, that was my setup for the fully upgraded Ferrari 512BB. I hope it helped. Thank you very much for watching. Please do like, subscribe, and kick me in the bell so that you get notified of my future uploads. Take care of yourself, and ta-ra.